Catching up with Sarah and Ginny, fueled by laughter and insights aplenty. Curiosity, connection, and learning that sticks. Real talk, real lives with practical tips. Welcome to Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny. Come on in.
Welcome to another episode of Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny, and we are absolutely thrilled today that we have Shahana Knight with us. So, hello, Shahana.
Hello.
So let's begin with you. Tell us a bit about yourself. Introduce yourself, please.
So I'm Shahana Knight. I'm a childhood trauma and behaviour specialist by trade, but I am now a classroom and furniture designer as well as of the last 3 years. So my mission in general is to help schools really question the norm and challenge perceptions about what schools are and what schools should be and what should offer, and what classrooms are and classrooms should be and offer. And I basically take the handbook and go, does that work? No, so let's stop. Does that work? No, so let's stop. And question everything. And really do challenge people's ideas on what they should be doing. I really believe the current system and environments, so classroom environments, as well as the way that we are with children, our responses to their behaviour, all of those sorts of things, and just what we do in school aren't working. I think that there are so many children struggling out there with all sorts of needs, really high stress levels, SEN needs, ACEs, trauma, being up late at night, going on social media and technology, gaming, and it's changing our children and it's changing childhood. And our children are coming into the classroom completely different children than they were 20, 30, 50 years ago. But our schools are the same and our classrooms are the same and our practices are the same. So really my job is to see things differently and fix what isn't working and help people to do that so children can flourish. Because at the moment, we're kind of blaming the kids and it isn't actually them, it's everything else.
Absolutely.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think that's one of the most important aspects that we need to be thinking about, really, is that we're maybe creating these buildings or we're creating these spaces or internal provisions. And then it's but then what's happening inside?
Yes.
What's actually going, it's all very well to make the space and to make the provision, but actually what's that? Do people know how to question? Are people looking at it reflectively and kind of thinking, are people asking the learners? I went into a classroom recently working with some learners and one of them was saying about how hard the chairs were. And it was really interesting because I was like, oh, actually, let me sit. And it was they changed year groups. It was like Key Stage 2. And so actually going up through the school, it also appears to be a lot harsher, doesn't it? Because in early years, you've got a lot more comfort. You're thinking about cushions. Then by the time you get to year 6, it's you sit there on that hard chair and you're taking much more complicated information. And this young man did ask me if they could have a cushion.
I love that.
And he did say, I know I can't get 30 cushions, so I don't know how we're going to work on this. And actually we're in discussion talking about, can we have cushions or could we have a choice of cushion?
Exactly. It's so interesting, Sarah, because genuinely the plastic chair thing is a massive thing of mine. I've been talking until I'm blue in the face about plastic chairs with children because they literally were a post-war invention. Did you know that? So they started post-war and they were this amazing, brand new thing that was transformed everything. And it was amazing. And actually we're still making our children sit on them. And like I say, if you're a stressed child who has got all of these stressful hormones running around your body, or you already feel really uncomfortable because you've got additional needs or because things are so stressful at home, you don't want to sit on a plastic chair in the same place all day. It's actually torture. I know that sounds really, really bad. But if you speak to the kids, like you say, Sarah, hundreds of children have told me the chairs hurt my bum, they stick to my legs, the hole in the back digs into my leg, I can't get a good spot, I'm told off, I have to sit on my knees. And it's just, and then we go, stop fidgeting, stop swinging on your chair. It's we're blaming the child for a problem and their symptoms are fidgeting, messing about. And we're not going, right, there's obviously an issue here. The issue must be with the chair. We're going, no, the issue's with you, child. You should be able to sit still. And that is such a massive issue for me because how many kids are walking around in different contexts? Some children, it's, well, you're a badly behaved child. You constantly shout out. You can't sit still. You're dysregulated. The ownership is on you. How many kids are
Yeah.
walking around thinking they're the problem when actually it's a chair and a cushion might solve it? Or, side note, I've just bought out my own range of comfortable classroom chairs after 3 years of battling with plastic chairs because there's no such thing. So I made one. So let's put those
Yeah.
into schools and actually maybe we won't see children fidget anymore.
And I think a good thing there you've just said then is about that hole in the back. Because
Yeah.
years ago, when I first started doing outreach work, when I was working in special schools and went into mainstream school, the hole in the back, it's that whole thing about feeling unsafe. And, if you're already anxious, you're already heightened, or you're just more heightened anyway when you come into school. And then, you don't know who actually could poke through the chair,
Yeah.
or you feel breeze through the chair, or the sensation is unusual.
Yeah.
It's something different and you can't quite place it. And again, you don't know it's about the chair, not you.
Yeah. The child doesn't know that they're
No,
not the
they don't
problem.
know.
You're right. You're
No,
so right.
because
And I think,
they don't get that told. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go on, Ginny.
and I think, tell me if I'm right, but in my experience, when we do things differently, th- sometimes as a teacher, they will say, "Am I allowed? Am I allowed to?"
Yeah.
Yes, you're
Yeah, yeah,
allowed.
yeah.
You're the class teacher.
Yeah.
I've gone into a classroom whereby it was, and all the children come and sit on the carpet. And I said, why? Why do all of the children have to come and sit on the carpet? And they went, well, that that's what we do. And I was like,
Yeah, that's what we do.
that's what we do. And I said, have you ever asked anyone who would
Yeah.
like to sit on the carpet? Who would like to sit on the carpet? Who would like to sit on a chair? Who would like to
Mm.
stand for a while? And they were like,
Yeah.
oh, and they were like, am I allowed? And then we can become permission givers. I'm like, yes. And then well, I know, but won't I get told off?
Yeah.
But
No.
and a big one for that is that you said about the child, because I think children don't know that it's not it's to do with, they automatically think it's them
Mhm.
because you grow up, don't you, and you develop, and that you kind of like initially we all, I mean, even now if something happens, I'm like, oh, what did I do?
Yeah.
And
Mm.
it's that shift to actually this is the situation, it's not about you, it's about the chair. And it is, yeah, it's permission, it's questioning. And I like that you said that, Shahana, as well, about actually, let's have a look. Is this working?
Mm.
Yeah.
No.
You know, it's
Let's
really
try
funny.
something else.
Oh, sorry, Sarah, go on.
No, yeah, go.
I was just going to say, like, I question everything, and I'm just in the process of putting a membership together, and I was talking to the team about it, and I started laughing, and I was like, so basically, if you join this membership, I'm going to be telling you to do everything the opposite of what you've been told to do as a teacher. I was like, people who sign up for this membership are basically signing up to something where I'm going, well, we're not going to put displays on the walls. Let's get rid of plastic chairs. You don't have to sit on the sofa, on the floor and cross your legs. Actually, let's completely change lunch times and dinner times and all of these things that are the norm in school
Yeah,
that, as you say, Ginny, like teachers think they have to do. And it's so
yeah,
interesting hearing you say that about permission because,
Mm.
yes, it's a culture we've created. So there's a culture in schools whereby teachers and head teachers, the whole culture of the school believes we have to have displays, we have to
mm,
have work on walls, we have to say you've got to cross your legs on the carpet. And if we don't do some of these things that are just part of school, Ofsted will come in and say, you're not doing what you should be doing. And it's a real thing. Like it's a real, don't we need to have displays for Ofsted? Oh, don't we need to do that for Ofsted? And actually, now that I've transformed enough schools and I've worked and doing enough environments, because that's one of the big things I do is take everything out and put new stuff in. We've had so many schools Ofsteded. And actually, what we find is that, and I've spoken directly to more than one Ofsted inspector as well, and they all say there's nowhere that says you have to have
no,
displays. There's nowhere that says you must have washing lines with all the work on it. It might be the mandatory non-negotiable of the school, but it's not
yeah,
a mandatory non-negotiable of the framework of what we expect to see in schools. It's a cultural thing. And all of
yeah,
those schools that have made those changes, because I say don't have display boards. Now that
yeah.
to some head teachers is like, what? Excuse me, none at all. I was in a school the other day and I was looking at his environments and I'm going to transform his spaces. And he was like, so what about the walls? And I was like, well, you take all the display boards down. And he was like, all of them, no display boards. okay, so no displays. And I was like, no displays. And I was like, if it's uncomfortable, you could maybe have one or two. But my honest advice would be no displays. And he was like, no, I'm on board. And then about 10 minutes later, so no displays on the wall. Just like, but then when you speak to Ofsted actually have gone into all of the schools I've transformed with no displays. And the environment has been championed in the report as being one of the biggest strengths. And all of them have had the environments highlighted in the report. So that's the complete opposite of what we expect. And those perceptions that you were saying, Ginny, of being like, well, am I allowed to do this? I think we need to be like, it doesn't matter if you're allowed or not allowed. Does the child need this?
Yes.
That should be
Yes.
our that should be our
Yeah.
compass. Do you know
And
what I mean?
what outcomes? Yeah, and what outcomes do you want? What we're going for? What we're trying to achieve? And it's the whole culture.
Yeah.
So on all of that, you've kind of touched on the next question, which is basically around: has there been a wow moment for you? Which
Yeah,
maybe is not
so
that one.
I mean,
That
it's
one was
been a
good.
long journey. This, like I said, I was a childhood trauma specialist, and I went in and did a lot of trauma informed work, a lot of training, a lot of consultation work. You know, trying to change perceptions, but through teachers becoming more trauma informed and practice, and then really started looking at environments, going, we really need to do something here. So I've been transforming environments for about 3 years, but it has not been easy. And one of the things I think it's really important to highlight is change. If you are the person going into places saying this needs to change, and actually the person doing the change, it's so much more challenging than you think. Like everyone that comes after me now, because somebody else will make chairs, somebody else will start doing environment design, it will be easier for those people. But for me, it's been pretty challenging. There was a point where I transformed classrooms for a year, and there was no furniture in those like education magazines or anywhere that was designed for classrooms. So I started putting stuff in, and it was pilot schools, I was trialing. How can we transform these environments? I was taking plastic chairs and tables out, putting in comfortable sofas, low floor seating where children could sit on the floor and work, sofas, high tables, but none of that existed in terms of real furniture. So I was just getting it from wherever I could with the support of head teachers. They were saying, we could get this, we could get, we were doing it collaboratively initially, and then I started to just continue to do. And then it got to the point where we'd seen massive outcomes in the children, like next day outcomes. So many children who were coming in every day when they were school refusers previously, children who were now like ADHD and autism, children with ADHD and autism, who were suddenly doing a whole lesson of maths because they were allowed to sit on the floor with their socks off and a blanket on a low table. Like it was honestly game-changing impact next day, right? But then the furniture started breaking in a lot of my first schools, and the shame and the guilt. Now I've got my own childhood trauma, right? So nothing for me is just, oh, it's a lesson, we'll learn. It was like, oh my God, I've let people down. I'm a terrible person. I shouldn't be doing this. And I really struggled. And at that point I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to stop. I cannot continue to do this. And then after a little while of just really remembering, like, no, I've literally changed people's lives. The children are engaging, they're back in their lessons, they want to be in school, like children are flourishing, teachers are happier, mental health is better, all of this stuff. I was like, well, I'm going to have to make my own furniture then. So I've been on this journey of where the hell do you find someone who's going to make chairs for you? How do I get the money to raise to spend X amount of money on a certain amount of chairs that have to be made? What's the design of that chair like? I know the back needs to be comfortable. The sofa, it needs to be durable. It needs to be wipeable. I'd already experienced screws coming out, so I was like, it has to be robust. Like there was all these lessons I'd learned from these chairs, and then I'd also started to develop my own furniture. And my wow moment, this is a long way to get there, but my wow moment was in September just gone. I finally got approval of my furniture to be education standard.
Wow.
So you have to put your furniture through tests to be
Yeah.
considered educational appropriate. And all the furniture I'd previously used, I didn't know that. None of the head teachers I was working with knew that, or any of the procurement people in the offices knew that. No one stopped me and said, hold on, Shahana, is this education approved? I only learned that lesson through it failing, and then school saying the furniture's breaking. And so when I got that okay, and it all happened on the same week, the chairs got approved, which are being made not in the UK at the moment. And then the tables got approved, which are being made in the UK in the same week. And I was like, oh my God, we can finally launch. I wanted to launch a furniture store so other people could buy therapeutic classroom furniture. And I was like, we can finally launch it because now I've got the confidence to say it has been tested to education standards. So now we have small chairs for year 3 all the way up to like adult age. We have tables that are high and low for all age groups. And yeah, it was like the biggest moment, I think, up to now of my career.
And I mean, that's amazing. But also, do you know what you've just really spoken about there is the journey of change.
Yeah.
And actually, for any whatever you are doing, it doesn't matter if it's furniture. It doesn't matter. My PhD was about teaching reading to children with the most kind of severe and profound needs. And so that, again, same thing. It's not a comfortable place to be. People say, well, you shouldn't be saying that.
Yeah.
Why are you saying like that? Oh, I don't agree. You know, maybe that's for those children, but not for these children. And it's change. And it's uncomfortable. And also you have to fail, unfortunately, and then you
And
can
that's the
learn.
horrible bit. I hate failure. I'm always like, I've been taught, be perfect at everything, do everything well. That means you're a good person. Do you know, that's like my value belief system from my childhood. And so then to have things fail, I was like, oh my God. It was like shame, like washing me with shame rather than just being like, you've got to fail to then learn lessons. I would never have had a furniture range if I didn't have that happen. But you're right, you do have to fail.
And so that's for our kids. I'm just thinking for our learners as well. It's a really difficult one because I think when I first went, like again, into special education, it's that thing of all the kids, you try and make it so no one fails.
Yeah.
No one gets anything wrong because you want to make it all right. And it's like, oh no, actually, to learn anything, you've got to get it wrong to then go, and get it right.
Yeah.
And I think it's also about being kind of going, okay, and having that, just okay. Hasn't It's that whole thing about the ladder concept of actually it's very little rungs of the ladder to get to the top. If you think that you're going to get up the ladder quickly, it's about, as my wonderful Yorkshire father would say, calming the job down and giving ourselves time, just time to get there. And like we're saying, children don't achieve all the time. They have times when things don't go their way and they, in inverted commas, fail. And so it is good that we do mirror that. And isn't it interesting, though, that your wow moment, Shahana, was the day when they were all agreed? Because we don't wow up to that, do we? We're waiting for that goal to be achieved, aren't we?
Yeah. It's so true. And, I think it is because I was so fearful that and it's just paperwork. It is just paperwork. And some of the standards actually probably need to change. But because of that approval, I'm like, now I can tell the world about it and no one's going to call me up and go, this is wrong. This won't work. This can't happen. Because there are people out there, another really significant moment was I'd started an Instagram page just before Christmas around the time of launching the shop. And within a week, I got 10,000 followers. It was unbelievable. I did a little video on the mission and showed a transformation and the children walking in and all their faces. And it just blew up in a week. And I'd never seen anything like it. But with that came all these voices of the rest of the world who weren't teachers or educators or who had an opinion. And the things that I was reading, I had to come off it. Because people were like, this is a stupid millennial. She's never been in a school. She's got no idea what she's doing. This will never work. The children will just wheel over those chairs. They can't have comfortable chairs. I had comfortable chairs. So what's the problem? If we had it, they should have it. Like there was a whole thing around, it's never going to work. It's too expensive. It's only for the rich. And I was like, we have to start somewhere. And also all of that is so misinformed, but there was so much negativity. I actually started going, oh, maybe there isn't a market for this. Maybe I am just a bit stupid and naive. Like I was really letting those voices get to me. And actually, like, I think you're so right. It is literally like it's the climb, but also I think teaching our children, like, people are not always going to agree with you. There is going to be challenges, there's going to be failure, but also sometimes you just have to believe that what you're doing. I knew children were responding to the chairs and tables being different. I could see the impact. People on Instagram can't see that. They're not aware of that. And I kept having to remind myself of that. And I just think it's teaching our kids to just be so true to themselves, because how many of our kids are going to be amazing creative minds, but they're told that, you know, if you can't do maths, you're not going to do very well. If you can't do English, you're not
And
going to do very well. Well, actually, they might be
yeah,
bloody amazing.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's something else.
No,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's really, really, really true.
and I think it's about having our cheerleaders near us, having those people who believe in it. Because
Yeah,
I listened
Yeah.
to something recently, and it was saying that if you physically have somebody next to you, I don't know if it works across the screen, but who is positive, then you
yeah,
kind of you take that positive, and if you have negativity next to you, then there are you know, they've done kind of research on this, and you
yeah,
know, it's about making sure we have the right people near us at the right
yeah,
time. So absolutely
yeah.
fascinating. So
Wonderful.
this lends itself very much. I'm very excited
Yeah, it
about
does.
this then, Shahana. If Send were a song, what would it be and why?
Oh my God, right. So when you asked this question, I really struggled with it first. And because
Yeah.
I love my music, I love my songs. I'm very like, and I was like, but then I just had this clarity of moment. And this is a weird answer. So bear with me. I need to explain it slightly, okay? So have you seen the Disney movie Moana?
Yeah.
Okay. If you haven't seen it,
Yes.
everybody needs to go and see it because it's genius. But I'm a big Disney movie fan. And in Moana, at the very end, Moana is singing a song called Know Who You Are. It's a very short song. It's not like a proper big song. To Takar. Now, Takar is the baddie in the movie. It's like a big fire-breathing monster. It sucked the life out of the earth and all of the islands. And it's angry and volatile. And she has realized that the heart of this monster has been taken away. And so she's coming in the end. She's been through a whole journey of rescuing this heart, finding this heart. And at the end, there's this scene where the monster's on one side, breathing all of its fire, trying to like, it looks like, be destructive and angry. And she is slowly walking in slow motion through the water as this water parts with this heart, singing this song, Know Who You
Oh,
Are. And she's singing and reminding this monster that they are not defined by that anger. They're actually hurting, and and that they've lost this heart. And actually, this Takar is the benevolent goddess of earth and life called Tafiti. You know, like Tafiti, the goddess of like who creates all the plants and the flowers and brings back the earth. But somebody had stolen a heart. So Moana is going towards her, going, I know who you are. And her song is like, it says something along the lines of, I've got the lyrics. So it says, I've crossed the horizon to find you. I know your name. They have stolen your heart from inside you, but this does not define you. This is not who you are. I know who you are. And every single time I watch it, I cry. And even now, I'm going to try really hard not to get emotional because it reminds me instantly of all of the children who are angry and dysregulated and who are responded to as if they're the baddie or they're told off, they get rejected, everyone's scared of them, but they are hurt children who are unsure how to manage their emotions and they are misunderstood. And everyone sees a monster, but actually
yeah.
that is a child who has so much potential. And I genuinely believe that my work and work that you guys are doing and all the people like us, we're putting the hearts back into these kids and going, this does not define you no matter what anyone says. They'll tell you you're angry. They'll tell you you're disengaged. They'll tell you you're the bad child. They'll tell you you've got needs that mean that you can't do things other people can do. None of that is true. I know who you are. And actually, for me, that song just defines everything that we're about. And if SEN were a song, it would be that.
Oh, yeah, we've both got tears in our eyes. Oh
In our
my goodness.
feels. It's in. Do you know? It's proper got me in my feels because
Yeah,
of the
me.
way
And
you
me.
articulated it.
Oh,
You know, and it's just like,
yeah,
whew,
because
thank
it's
you
so
so
true.
much.
And
Thank you,
yeah,
Kath.
thank you. Because, you know, how many children have we worked with? Do we know across all form, you know, of education, every sector? And it is that, they need that one person, that person that believes in them, that knows who they are, you
Yeah.
know, and that there's so much research around that as well. And as you said, Ginny, as well, about the whole positivity and people being around you who believe
Yeah.
and have a way through.
Yeah.
So it's the pathways, right? Not, I don't just believe, I actually know kind of pathways, and maybe we look at the furniture, or maybe we, you know, we look at other stuff, not you, not, you know, not
Yeah.
always focusing on you. Oh, I
And I
love
think it.
that. Oh,
And I think it's
goodness.
it's having that person, once again, that person who champions the child. You know,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
person who,
Yeah. Who's your
when
champion?
something has happened and everyone's in the staff room, that
Yeah.
person who
Mhm.
actually says, "Let me just say about," or
Mhm.
I'm not happy with you saying that about so and so." You
Let's
know, it is.
reframe. Yeah.
Yeah,
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 reframe
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Because otherwise it becomes like they're the baddie, it's their
Exactly.
It
activity,
be
and it's like, what are their
Yeah.
strengths?
But I
What
It
feel
can they
like
do?
becomes a script. It becomes a script for
Yeah.
the child, and we have to stop that script, or, "Oh,
yeah,
this is all a bit deep," or rewrite the script,
Yeah.
or and bring the positives forward about that child, because they can get hidden if we're not careful.
yeah, it's
Mm.
true. It's true. And I think as well, like there are so many children who believe they are that monster. Because
Yeah.
children believe what they're told and they believe how we respond to them. So if you spend most of your childhood in a primary school setting, because essentially they're here all of their childhood, we're helping raise those children whether we like it or not. So what
Yeah.
we say to them, how we respond to them, that builds their internal belief system. It builds their script about who they are, how others will react to them, and they leave our settings. And perhaps with the most important thing, you know, who they are, what they're about, that self belief is molded by the way we treat them in school. I don't care if they leave and they know how to write maths or science or English. I do care if they leave and they think they're a terrible human who, you know, is always doing the wrong thing, who doesn't know how to make friends and has never been supported emotionally. And they believe that they are the problem, when actually all those adults and all that system and all that experience could have given that child a completely different outcome. But because we're
Yeah.
stuck in scripts and because we're stuck in culture and because we're told the child's behavior is a problem, we allow that child to leave our care with those belief systems, and the responsibility is on us. And in that song, like Moana, it's challenging. It's
Yeah.
challenging to find the heart of the child, to go through the water, to go through the storm, all the things she has to deal with to help this child. It is challenging because these children are going through maybe domestic violence at home, abuse, loss. Maybe they've got some sort of trauma. Maybe they've got SEN needs and no one's met them. And they've got all of these, you know, there's so much
Yeah.
going on. We
Mm.
have to go through those experiences and that challenge. That's our job as adults for children. And I think we're missing that massively in education at the moment.
And I think you're right, Ginny, as well, saying about sometimes because in the staff room, when we're having those conversations, all that information gets lumped together,
Yeah.
and we have to make really quick decisions around things, and we make really quick judgments
Yeah.
about other learners. And sometimes, you know, it's like, let's try not to add to the negative judgments. Let's add some of the positive language in there, and
Yes.
have someone that's a champion. I love that. I'm going to be playing that song later, and I'll be crying. So thanks.
You'll never watch it in the same way again.
I know. Well, I won't, because my son quite likes that film. So I think he'll be like, "Mummy, why are you crying?" So on to a final question. Hopefully I'll no tearjerker here, but what's a favourite book of yours? It can be a children's book, it can be an adult's book. Do you have one particularly?
I do, and it's not a tearjerker. It is a must read for every single adult out there, and I think it's so prevalent right now. It's the best book I have, I would say, ever written. Ever written. I've written a book. My book was great, but ever read. And it's called The Anxious Generation. Have you read it?
Yeah.
Right. So it
Right.
is about the world children are living in now, technology, social media, phones, all of that. And I just think like the whole thing about it is how children are being robbed of their childhood and we're reprogramming children's brains. It's like the great rewiring, he calls it. And it's all about how his focus is on play, childhood, all the good stuff that you get from play, which is a massive. I used to be a play therapist, so that speaks massively to me. And it's about how it's transforming children's brains and it's increasing mental health issues, increasing mental health needs. And he looks at so much science, but I listened to the audiobook version of it. And it is just so important for every single adult to read it or listen to it, whichever way you get information into your consciousness the best. I listened
Yeah.
because it's so easy to listen to, but it's also so profound and it really helps you understand when your child is gaming for 3 hours, that is going to impact how they then show up in the
Yeah.
world. It's going to impact their behavior, their thought processes, their ability to learn, their ability to follow instructions, their relationships, you know. And so it really strips back everything that's become the norm for our children and shows us how it's impacting their development and their brain. And that I think is massively important for educators because we're missing that piece of the puzzle You know, we can all say, oh, you know, children spend too much time gaming, or technology and social media is really bad, and we have to look at safety online. But it's so much more than that. Like, it's actually changing the brains of our kids. So they cannot learn when they come in a classroom. They're unable to access parts of their brain that help them to problem solve, you know, and it's just such a brilliant book. So I would massively recommend everyone to listen or read it, and then think it will change your perception on children and also where childhood is headed if we don't start making a difference and a change.
Yeah, and I
Fabulous.
think that
Fabulous.
we've talked, haven't we, a bit about that, Ginny, around also as adults what we're modelling.
Yeah.
I was just
You
thinking
know,
that.
I travel a lot on the train, and you know, myself, I'm as guilty. But you look around families with their
Yeah.
children, and we've said this before, Ginny, about, you know, people, we do this because actually maybe you've got work to do or you've got different things, but actually just being present and
Yeah.
being aware of what we're modelling as normal. From very young age with our children and young people, and just that kind of our own use of technology. And actually, you can't be present, you can't be responding, you can't be and so having, and everything in moderation, and
Yeah.
having a understanding about what does the day look like for that young person. Gaming, fine, at different times, and you know, we've always had that in different ways, but actually it's more consuming now.
Yeah. 100%. It's an attention grabber in all ways.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that.
So much to consider, and so
Yeah.
much, I'm going to say, Shahana, common sense in some ways. Common sense isn't
Yeah.
common enough. You know, what you're saying is so much about permission giving. And, you
Yeah.
know, let's turn it round. I always think, would I like that? Would I like to sit on a plastic chair for all of that time? No. Would I
No.
like to stand? Would I like to sit on a dirty carpet with my legs crossed? I wouldn't. And I think sometimes, and I had a trainer came out and did this, and it was really, really, it really made us look at things differently. They got to do things that we ask our children to do, and we were
I
like,
love
we
that.
don't like. Yeah, we were like,
Yeah.
we don't want to do that, and they were like, and neither do they. So playing this idea of playing detective and asking the children, not telling them, but going, actually, do you want to sit on this chair or this chair? Do you want to sit on the floor? Do you want to stand? For everyone as well. It's not for a few. It's saying,
No.
what shall we do? That's the other thing. You know, it's about what do we all as individuals want to do so that we can have the best time we can at school. And like you said, they are so that they're happy, so that they feel valued. And then guess what? Learning happens.
Exactly.
You know, it's
'Cause
been
it was
an absolute joy, Shahana, and just your commitment to it is just compelling. It's just compelling, the fact that you felt so strongly about it, and now you've got this online shop. It's amazing. I'll be having a look at that as well. But it's
I'm going to
been
be having a look.
yeah. It's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Shahana. And as we always end with Sarah, it's always a pleasure.
Never a chore. Thank you,
Thank you
Shahana.
so much,
Thank you
Shahana.
so much.
Thank
Oh, bye,
you.
guys.
Thanks for joining us this time on Catching Up with Sarah and Ginny.
Always a pleasure and never a chore.